Hi everybody! I guess that's all. So welcome back to another episode of Flourdamentals. As you can see, we have flour! Woohoo! Today we're going to teach you another basic flourdamental, which is our easiest, most basic chocolate cake. What makes this chocolate cake really easy is that it's a one bowl recipe. Okay, fine, there's lots of little bowls just to show you guys the ingredients, but everything comes together in one bowl, so you can measure straight into the bowl if you wanted to. You just whisk everything together. There's nothing you have to do ahead of time, like soften butter, because we're going to be using oil as our fat. It's really easy to make if you ever have like an emergency birthday party or an emergency chocolate cake craving, which is like every other day. You can just mix this up and have a chocolate cake ready in no time. Also, I turned around if you didn't notice. New territory. Spot all the things. Let's play I Spy. But Dan doesn't like to play games with me. So here, of course, we have our flour. We have sugar, cocoa powder, baking powder, very important because that's what's going to give us our rice in this cake. Milk, oil, eggs, and water. So essentially what this is a deconstructed or homemade cake mix. If you notice, when you buy your cake mixes and your cake packages from the grocery store, you add only three things: water, eggs, and oil. So this is the same kind of idea. We're gonna make a cake mix here with our dry ingredients, and then we're gonna add our wet ingredients to it. So here we have the same things. The only extra liquid ingredient we have in our recipe is milk. I just find that it gives it a little bit of a richer flavor. The first thing we wanna do is mix together our dry ingredients. So here we have the holy grail flour. We're gonna put in our sugar, cocoa powder, and you wanna use as high quality a cocoa powder as you can find because all our chocolate flavor is coming from the cocoa powder. There's no melted chocolate here. And then we have our baking powder. So we're using baking powder here, not baking soda, because there's nothing in our mix that's really acidic for baking soda. But it's a big amount of baking powder. And this is really what's gonna give this our rice. It kind of makes it like a no-fail chocolate cake. Kind of like when you get the box mix, there's a lot of leavener in there. And that's what makes a really fluffy, really light cake. And it's really important to whisk together your dry ingredients before putting in your wet ingredients. That's it. So if you can see, even with the color, it already resembles kind of like the box cake mix you can find at the store. So that's the dry ingredients, and then we're gonna go move on to the wet ingredients. We just dump in everything. So I'm not even gonna beat my eggs ahead of time. I'm just gonna plop them in there. Hot water. The reason why we wanna use hot water here is that it kind of blooms the cocoa powder. So the same idea as if you're like toasting spices, you want to apply a little heat to them first. Applying hot water makes the cocoa powder, kind of gives it time to really enhance and release all the flavor that it can. Then here we have our oil and then our milk. And as easy as that, you're just gonna stir this all together until it's completely combined. You don't want to overmix this because you don't want a tough cake, you want a light cake. So as long as it's smooth and well combined, then you're pretty much done. You just want to make sure you get everything from underneath and the sides. And here's the texture that you're looking for. So this is done mixing. That's it. That's our cake batter. Very easy. Woo, woo, we're finished, technically. It's a very loose batter, as you can see. It's almost like a thin pancake batter, and that's exactly what you're looking for here. You don't want something too thick. So after you mix it together, all you have to do is pour it into a prepared pan and then bake it. So I'm going to show you guys some tricks on how to do that, and then we'll get started. Here I have a 9-inch cake tin lined with parchment paper. If you don't know how to do that, you can check our other videos like our food video and stuff like that. So some disclaimers. This is a very easy basic chocolate cake. What it's gonna make is a 1-layer chocolate cake where you can put frosting on top. It's not gonna make you a cake that you can stack. Normally, those recipes are a little bit sturdier than the recipe that we have now. And all you're gonna do is pour it straight into your tin. So here I have my cake all poured into the pan, And what you want to do is tap it on the counter a couple of times. What this does is that it brings all the air bubbles to the surface and pops the air bubbles that are inside. What that helps with is ensuring that there's no pockets of air in your batter that will make your cake rise unevenly and bake unevenly. Another trick is you can take a knife and kind of run a knife through it, but that's just like an extra thing to wash. Our principle for this series is less things to do, less things to wash. So happen a couple of times, and I've had my oven preheating to 350 degrees. You're gonna want to bake this cake. It's a pretty thick cake. So about 30 to 40 minutes. I would check it at 25 and then see how you go from there every 5 or 10 minutes. So what you're looking for is if you insert a toothpick into the center, it should come out with a few moist crumbs but no wet batter. I'll see you guys back in 30 to 45 minutes. Ooh, okay. So our cake has been in the oven for a total of 1 hour, but I just wanted to show you here what we're looking for. So if you put a toothpick in the center of it, so as you can see, there's some wet crumbs sticking to the toothpick, but there's no wet or liquid batter at all. And that's exactly what you're looking for when you're baking this cake. So if it's dried out, the toothpick would come out totally clean. If it's raw, the toothpick would come out with a wet batter on it. But here at the perfect sweet spot, you just have a few moist crumbs like that. You want to let the cake cool in the pan for about 5 to 10 minutes before you do anything to it, just because it's really delicate still when it's super hot and you don't want it to break on you. So 10 minutes. And then I just have a spatula here. You can use a knife, and you just want to loosen the sides a little bit. But because we lined this with parchment paper and oiled it, it should come out no problems. Yes, look at that! It's a chocolate cake! And then you can just peel off the parchment paper really easily. And obviously it's still really hot, so you're gonna let your cake cool completely before you put any frosting or any decoration. Then you're gonna turn it out onto your final plate. Okay, as you can see, just from the movement of transferring your cake alone, the dome has already decreased significantly. As it cools, it will even fall a little bit more and flatten out a little bit more. And then I'll show you guys how to finish and frost this cake. You can do something really easy. If you wanted to do frosting, you could do powdered sugar and milk and cream cheese, or a softened butter and powdered sugar frosting. But again, in Flourdamentals, we want as basic as possible. So what I have here is a simple chocolate ganache. I just melted equal amounts of cream and chocolate chips by volume. So a cup of chocolate chips and a cup of cream in the microwave, just until the chocolate chips were melted. And I stirred it constantly until it was smooth and shiny, and then let it cool until it's this nice thick consistency. And all you have to do is pour it on top. So again, you want to do this when your cake is cool so that it doesn't melt and go all over the place. But you can see, you can't see the crack. It's nice and glazed. It looks really decadent, and even though it looks really simple, so at this point you could just leave it as is, put candles, do all that stuff. This is really blurry. That made it worse. So I hope you guys make this at home. I hope you enjoyed this Flourdamentals. Tell us what basic Flourdamental recipe you guys want to do next in the comments below. And if you make this, tag us, PepperPH, all that stuff. And we'll see you next time where we're gonna make something else. I don't know what it is yet, but I bet it's gonna be easy also. Yay! Time to eat cake!